Hey everyone, and welcome to this edition of Stream On. I'm Jim Williams, your host, and today we're going to introduce many of you to a network that, if you're a sports fan, you should already be familiar with. But if you're not, well, after this podcast, I guarantee you're going to be checking it out just like I do every day. It's called Stadium. It's free. It's a Chicago-based network. And the CEO himself, Jason Coyle, joins us. Jason, outstanding network you have there, my friend. And I'll tell you, you don't have a bad group of partners to start things off. Talk about your partnerships.
We do. Yeah, we have some tremendous partners. We have, of course, Silver Chalice, Jerry Reinsdorf and his partners, Sinclair Broadcasting, as you know well, collection of the leagues like Major League Baseball and the NHL and the PGA Tour, and then Meredith by virtue of its ownership stake in SI. So we've got a really great balance of rights holder alignment and media expertise, and it really has been a really helpful combination.
Now, you've taken the concept of not going the traditional route, which of course is the old cable situation where you get a subscription base, and that way you get a base fee for whatever it is that you offer up there. I mean, I think ESPN at last count was almost up to like $5 or $6 per subscriber on a cable basis. And you guys have taken a different approach. Let's talk about that approach.
Absolutely. Well, we see a really significant opportunity in the providing a free cable style network to today's sports fans, and as important to today's distribution partners. So as we look at the landscape and you look at pay television solidified as an ecosystem, but certainly pulling back with each month and each year, certainly. We even see this, the cord cutting options driven by paywall and subscription opportunities. So you have DAZN at $19.99 a month, Bleacher Report Live, NBC Sports' opportunity, ESPN Plus, of course, Flow Sports, even The Athletic. It's not even death by 1,000 paper cuts for the sports fan. It's significant actual cuts, and at some point, I just think there's going to be a shaking out and a frustration and a financial reality for sports fans that they need a go-to platform on a daily basis that is available on a cost-effective manner, and what's more cost-effective than free. So I think the value proposition for sports fans is significant, and at the same time, you see all these distribution partners, powerful players. Amazon, Roku has become a significant player. Of course, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, Samsung, connected TVs, all of these really important players pushing into television quality, free, over-the-top programming. And there is an absolute scarcity of television quality sports in that ecosystem. And so our approach is to earn our way into significant distribution deals, and we're making so much progress there. And then to become part of the daily diet for sports fans, and either as a supplement to the subscription models, or as an alternative if they want to just check out the sports news and information and some great analysis every day. So we really think that free opportunity is a real one.
You know what I've learned from 40 years in this business is that you don't have to have the slickest production. You just have to have good content. And I think one of the things we're learning from CBS HQ, for instance, is that, they're very down and dirty, but the content is, very solid. And there's a bit, to your point, there's a bit of the old school mentality here that, you know what, I could go through all the glitz and glamour of a super slick production of a sports set, which costs, $210,000 to build, and
If you're
and
lucky.
all the yeah, exactly, and all the different beautiful bells and whistles that I could put together. I could spend that money on people who actually could talk about what's going on, and people would listen to that. And I think, to your point on the OTT aspect of it, Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, all of that, people are just basically putting their cell phone up, popping it in there, and talking in front of their computer and giving you information. And it's good, solid content. You don't necessarily have to be the slickest, sharpest network to get across your points.
I think that's right. And at the same time, you do see us pay attention to production values, and we have a studio that I think is good, and we use certainly highly skilled production people and camera operators and the like. But in terms of the content itself, the expectations of users and fans, I do think it's come off of that hyper produced studio type of look and feel. And we take the temperature of the industry constantly. We see our friends and partners over at Cheddar with a really good production that doesn't necessarily have bells and whistles. But at the same time, we also do look at our distribution partners and our rights holders as our core audience as well. So we put more polish into the production than I think the audience necessarily expects. But I think it's an important indicator as we're out there vying for rights and we're out there trying to solidify our distribution, and not just distribution, but the right deals with significant promotion, the right channel position, or the right promotional package. And so it's a puzzle. You want to be efficient with the production. Definitely have to put great content on the air, and we think we have to look good enough to be a stone's throw from what all this entire kind of ecosystem expects from a sports network.
Let me say that I did not mean to besmirch the production team at Stadium or the folks in the wonderful United Center out there. I guess what I was trying to put forth there was the concept that, having worked for ESPN during my many long 4-decade career, the point being, you don't necessarily have to spend or take the time on having sinking all of your dollars into the most impressive production facility you can build. You can still get through to an audience with a little bit lesser expenditure in that point, and put the expenditures in other areas where you can perhaps have better content. So nothing meant in the way of bad throwing shade, not throwing shade on the Stadium gang out there in Chicago.
Not at all. No, not at all. These guys just know I appreciate and admire their work so much that, of course, I'm gonna throw that in there. But I didn't take that negatively in the least. And another consideration for us, to your exact point, is that so much of digital consumption is mobile and vertical video on mobile oftentimes. So we're simultaneously producing with a 70-inch screen in mind and a 1.5-inch screen in mind. And so the sweeping jibs and the over-the-top sets that I think have served and continue to serve the traditional networks really, really well. It doesn't really fit with what we're trying to do. So I think that's a long way of agreeing with your initial.
Yeah, no, it's a, one of those things is, back in the day, I remember directing a Ohio State Michigan game where we had 25 cameras and a blimp. And the following week, I was doing Division I AA championship game at James Madison with 4 cameras and, a handheld, which occasionally worked. So, you definitely go from the yin to the yang, but the deal is you still get it done. And I think that's the quality that you're talking about, is that, today, in the old days, we had to worry about satellites. We don't have to worry about that now. We can stream things. that
Yep.
that we couldn't do. So you can take multiple feeds a whole lot simpler nowadays than you could back in the day.
That really is right. The transmission is so much more reliable and such of a higher quality than we've ever seen in the past. And that's really enabled a lot of what we're doing in the field. And when we produce our live games, by the way, we do use we use a traditional truck setup, a traditional number of cameras, the bells and whistles, and I would say a traditional transmission method, going back to the expectations of the fans and partners around the games. That's a little different than the studio expectations, but so we really do. We look at each piece of content a little differently, and we say that what level of production goes with this game, what level of production do we need for this field report or even this Skype, and we're just trying to be smart and look at all different production techniques and put them together in one package and one final product that fits cohesively enough to make some sense to the viewers.
Right, and just to kind of step behind the ropes here just for a second, folks, it also a great deal of what Jason, you're talking about has to do as well with the venue. It's one thing to be able to put 5 or 6 cameras or 10 cameras in one particular venue, but some venues do not afford you that opportunity. So it's not like you're trying to scrimp on the productions because there just isn't places to put things.
I agree with that. That's exactly right.
Well, let's talk about your conferences. I mean, obviously, the WCC is of interest to our readers with the San Francisco Examiner, but you've got some great conference alliances around the country. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Sure, thank you. Yes, the West Coast Conference has been a longstanding partner really since we launched Stadium in 2017, and we love their leadership. We love their member institutions. We love the product that they put on the field. They're one of our partners, along with Mountain West, Conference USA, certainly the Patriot League and the Atlantic 10. And we're really excited about the array of programming that we can bring and put on the screen. And what I believe but I'll just clarify, is we have a 24/7 fully programmed network that accommodates several hundred live events throughout the course of the year. But at the same time, we also have rights to and enable the production of over 2,000 additional events that just by time period conflicts or other reasons are streamed live, but on demand outside of the 24/7. So that really enables us to get into not just football, which is important, men's and women's basketball, but then we start to push into lacrosse, women's volleyball, soccer, and really some elite athletes in those sports who don't necessarily get the airtime in a lot of other places. But when you put those conferences together, you really have a significant number of nationally relevant teams. We had 13 bowl teams on our air last year in college football, a significant number of NCAA tournament teams in college basketball. West Coast Conference is certainly, to your point, a really strong basketball conference, and they really go top to bottom. They're really strong in a significant number of sports, and we love the partnership.
Stream On will continue after this word from BMW i3, the ultimate electric driving machine.
Life is about making decisions. At BMW i, we decided it was time to reinvent the car from the ground up, making sure we were open for truly innovative ideas. We decided that the car we wanted must be electric, and it should be made of extremely light and super strong carbon fiber. And finally, we decided to make it more intelligent and added our promise of incomparable driving pleasure. We made all these decisions to offer you a choice. The all-electric BMW i3.
Welcome back to Stream On. You also have some fantastic markets, which doesn't hurt either.
No, it doesn't hurt at all.
You know, that's always a good thing to have happen. So where are we going with regards to what are some of the things that we can be looking forward to at Stadium?
Well, thanks. I think it's a combination, and maybe just by looking back, even this past quarter, you could get a sense of where we're going, and I think if I could do a quick review, this will lay the groundwork.
Take your time.
Sure, thanks. Well, first, the distribution is really important. It's core to what we're doing. Everywhere that users are finding new platforms and plugging in new Samsung TVs and finding their way onto Roku channels, we're pushing into all of those, and we have a significant deal pipeline that will be showing up in the next 3 months. But to give you a sense of how active this is and the advances that I think this network has, we could just do a quick review. We launched on the Roku channel, and that is a really significant and fast-growing player. We're very, very thrilled with the partnership there and the association. They're featured in the Roku channel under sports and news. We launched on Samsung TV Plus. We've been really excited by the initial reception and by our partner there and the traction that we're getting viewership. We also launched on Sling TV and in both packages, the orange package and the blue, and we're the only sports network now that runs in both packages. ESPN and E2 and ESPN3 is in one along with us, and then the other side there's no ESPN, but it's a number of other sports networks and us. And so I think that really starts to give you a sense of the places that we're beginning to reach and the momentum that we have, where the macro trends really show up on deal sheets and then us pushing live. And I think by the end of the summer, you will see at least 3 new deals with major players that everyone knows, with Stadium pushing live onto similar platforms with similar level of significance in the industry. So I think that's part one of where we're going. Part two is the content.
Hey, Jason, before we go any
Sure.
further, I don't want Tommy Ryan to get upset with us. Let's don't forget Pluto TV on that.
Of course, Pluto TV. The only reason I didn't mention Pluto is we had gone live with them last year, so not in the last 3 months.
So we're not slaying Tommy or the people of Pluto. I just want to make sure.
No, not at all. They've actually had a pretty nice quarter themselves, I would say.
Right, they have.
Yeah, no question. They're really good partners and they're great promotional partners and
good people.
Yeah, very good people. And you can even see them leaning into what we did in Q1. And this is an active set of partnerships. So when we look ahead at the weeks and months as to what we're doing, a combination of games, live studio specials, and post-produced original programming, we're constantly working with the Rokus, the Twitters, the Plutos, Samsungs, and on down the line to let them know what it is we're doing, because really there's, again, a scarcity of sports content on these platforms, especially of this quality. And so we have in Q1 we've really got a great college basketball footprint. We had a significant number of games from those conferences that I mentioned: Patriot League, West Coast Conference, Mountain West, Conference USA, A10, and then and even some of their postseason men's and women's tournaments in the early rounds. Then daily campus insiders studio programming supporting all of that college basketball with Jeff Goodman as our newsbreaker and our really inside guy on a national level. And at the same time, we introduced a new original series called Running with the Pack that was all access with the Nevada Wolfpack and then coach Eric Musselman with one of our partners in Mountain West. And I think that came out really, really well, and the partners were excited and the audiences reacted very positively. And then the whole thing culminated with a Selection Sunday show that we did live here at our studios in the United Center. And it was a great snapshot of our capabilities and the opportunity. We had Jeff Goodman in studio and Kristen Balboni hosted. Doug Gottlieb was in, and it was a really fun live 2 hours. We had Tom Izzo join us live on set. He had just won the Big Ten tournament about 100 paces away in the United Center. He strolled by the Jordan statue right into our studio. Boom, he was in the A block. We had him in studio and live. We had Bill Self remotely. A really great combination of coaches and players, and then great insight from our analysts. So yeah, that's something that our distribution partners all really promoted and leaned into, and again, great reaction from the fans. And then last week we introduced our first effort on the original long form side beyond half hours. We introduced a documentary on Derrick Rose called Pooh, his childhood nickname.
Right.
Like Pooh Bear was the name his mom gave him. Pooh, the Derrick Rose story. And it was a 2-hour film really going deep in the life of Derrick and his rise through Chicago and his time, a brief stint in college, and his rise and then injuries in the NBA, and a really significant and we think compelling progression through his career and life, and it really has been so well received. And I think that gives you an indication of the type of content that we want to begin doing. And as we move from college basketball season into NBA season,
right,
we're using this documentary as a springboard into our combine and draft coverage and free agency coverage. We have an insider named Sham Sharania, who you might know.
I know Sham.
We think he goes punch for punch at times with the best out there, and not at times, all the time. We're really proud of the work he does, and he's a phenomenal,
good guy,
phenomenal reporter. Yeah. He's a great guy. Yeah, he's a great guy, and you wouldn't believe how young he is.
Good follow on Twitter, folks. If you haven't followed him, you got to follow him on Twitter.
Yeah, thank you. He's great, and we're going to have a live draft show that will feature, of course, Shams and Jeff Goodman, who was on air with ESPN's draft coverage last year.
Right.
Before we were fortunate enough to recruit him over, and some coaches and players who will be announcing between now and then. And it's going to be a great draft night. Live event for us, and in between we'll be having tons of news and information coverage around that, and some more studio support. So hopefully that Q1 gives you a sense of where we're going. It's a combination of games, getting better and better on our news and information, and leaning into some of these originals.
You got another buddy of mine on your staff over there, Brett McMurphy.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I didn't realize that you knew each other. Yeah, Brett is coming up on a year with us, and he's great to work with, and of course his work speaks for itself, I think, as well. And he just has such a significant role to play in college football, and he's got such access and incredible insight into conference commissioners and coaches and players and everyone in between. It's really been fun working with him.
Yeah, Brett worked for me at Sunshine Network when I signed on there. And he also, I'm an alumnus way back when of the Tampa Tribune. And of course, that's where Brett cut his teeth before going to ESPN and then on to you guys. But Brett is somebody who, without question, has very few peers when it comes to knowing what's going on in the college football ranks.
Yeah, we were really fortunate to get both he and Jeff, and I think in one fell swoop we made the announcement last fall. We really stepped up in the college space and in breaking news in both basketball and football, and little known to most people, but he was a high school friend of Garth Brooks.
That I didn't know.
Pretty good. Yeah, good claim to fame. Yeah, if you need anything with Garth, try to go through Brett at least.
Yeah, I will. I'll have to. It's funny. I've known him all these years. That one I did not know. So, well, I don't often have a need for Garth, but if I do, I now know how to track him down. So
yes,
now, you've got 25 million people that can see you, but I'm quite sure that with this concept that you're doing, that 25 is going to grow pretty quickly.
Yeah, and I think that number is an accurate number on television. That's just the free-to-air broadcast.
Right.
That number doesn't include the footprint on Roku and Pluto and
the streaming,
Zumo.
Right.
Yeah, and so we're by conservative counts, we're in double that number of homes already. And I think even on television, we're looking at a rapid expansion next year as broadcast reinvents itself for a third time and moves to the third generation, where it's going to enable HD sub-channels and just more channel space and greater opportunities for distribution. I think you're really going to see free-to-air television take a huge leap forward, and we're going to go along with it. And we're the only sports network there. We're occupying that white space, the green field, whatever the buzz term you want to use. But that I think we're sitting on a really remarkable opportunity on that traditional, going back the first traditional free broadcast opportunity.
Well, it's kind of like everything old is new again. So
I agree.
I think that one of the great things that is going to be fun about Stadium is that, again, you can't beat free, number one. And number two, the accessibility through so many different platforms makes it simple to do it. And you don't have to worry about entering one of those subscription passwords. You don't have to worry about getting billed for it. You don't have to worry about anything. You just sit back and enjoy the sports.
That's right. And it's our job to take that availability and accessibility and make it watchable. So we take it really seriously. Just because we're there, we can't assume that people are going to enjoy it. So we really, really work hard on every piece of content, every show that we do, to make sure that it is. It's not just the only thing on. It's really good. It's something that people are going to seek out, and that's why we invested in those news breakers and the rights that we did to really bring something, whether you have ESPN or not, something that people really want to watch.
Well, the funny thing is, you don't have to. It's not like you're in competition necessarily with ESPN or the others. It's you do you, and get the audience. And people will come to you and they'll watch. Right. It's not like they're not going to watch ESPN. It's not like they're going to watch Fox. They're not going to watch CBS or any of the others. It's a simple matter of, if you do you and you do it right, then that's all you can do.
That's exactly right. Yeah, we definitely keep an eye on all of them, but we have our own lane. We have our own intentions, our own audience, and an opportunity that's unique. And yeah, we don't get too caught up, other than paying close attention. Of course, we don't get too caught up with direct comparisons against any of the traditional players.
I remember sitting on a panel with Mike Weissman, who at that point was still with NBC. And I turned to him and we were talking, between a break, and I said, Mike, he said, what? I go, I hate you. And he goes, why? I said, because you have set a network standard that we now all have to deal with. And, there's no such thing as a small broadcast anymore. It all has to be big. And, I think the fun part of what Stadium has done is you've captured the essence of the excitement of a great college experience. You've highlighted it in all the right ways. You haven't, scrimped out on production, but you haven't lost that true ability to tell stories. And that's what really gets people excited about sports, and always will. You've got we talked about Brett, we talked about all the other team you put together, all those guys. It's all about the story. And it doesn't matter if that story comes from, a Power 5 conference, or from the WCC, or from Mountain West, or wherever. There's always the backstory. And that's the reason people love sports. They love the stories. They love the history. They love what they can, clutch onto. And I think with what you guys are doing, you're hiring the right storytellers. You're putting together the right packages.
Thank you very much.
Well, I'm going to give you 45, take a whole minute or so if you like, to promote what, where we should be watching you, how we should be enjoying Stadium.
Oh, thank you very much. I'll take the 45 seconds and hopefully don't go too far over, but there is a pretty long list. The easiest way to come back to the North Star, just watch stadium.com. And we're streaming live and free 24/7. You can also see the various on-demand games and other post-produced content there. We have a whole suite of apps under our brand on iOS and Android. You can see us on from free-to-air broadcast. Again, if you have a digital antenna or your Samsung TV is enabled with an antenna, you can see us market to market, 25 million homes. In the Bay Area, we're on channel 31.4, which is a KMAX CBS signal that originates in Sacramento, but casts over the South Peninsula.
It's all over it's all over the Bay Area.
Yeah, it sure is. And beyond there, you've got OTT platforms like Pluto and Xumo, TV Plus, as I mentioned, the Roku channel,
Stir.
And of course, Stir, of course, I forgot to mention, and the virtual MVPDs like Sling TV and Sony View and Fubo, and certainly more to come there. So it's interesting. Even now, I'm way over my 45 seconds, but we bought a TV for my son. Yeah. Well, thanks. We bought a TV for my son the other day, just a smaller one that was Fire TV, is one of those $80 ones. And we plugged it into the wall, and just as a consumer and a dad, the first thing it did is prompt for a digital antenna, and you plug that in so we can get you that way, and then it connects automatically to your Wi-Fi, and there's Pluto or Xumo TV, and so we get you that way as well. And it really, if you take a look for Stadium on any of these new devices, new platforms, you're sure to find us. And if you don't, watch stadium.com is always a great fallback.
Well, I have Roku and I have Fire Stick, and I have had no trouble not only finding you, but find you in numerous places. So that makes it even easier. So, and it's all free, folks. So free we like. And by all means, don't be a stranger, Jason. Please come back and talk to us whenever you guys have something to talk about.
Very happy to do that, and my line's always open as well. So don't hesitate to reach out if you think that that Stadium or I can be of help or interest. Always happy to jump on with you.
Special thanks to Jason Coyle, the CEO of Stadium. By all means, check it out. All of the information will be in the show box below as to how you can find them. By all means, check out Stadium. We'll be back with more of Stream On with Jim Williams right after this from BMW i3, the ultimate electric driving machine.
Life is about making decisions. At BMW i, we decided it was time to reinvent the car from the ground up, making sure we were open for truly innovative ideas. We decided that the car we wanted must be electric, and it should be made of extremely light and super strong carbon fiber. And finally, we decided to make it more intelligent and added our promise of incomparable driving pleasure. We made all these decisions to offer you a choice. The all-electric BMW i3.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Now, if you're not one of the over 60,000 people who've taken the time to subscribe to our podcast, first of all, shame on you. Second of all, we make it very easy. It is free. You can find us at the iTunes store because we are very pleased to be part of the Apple Podcast family. We're equally happy to be at the Google Play Store, where you can find us in Google Podcasts. You can find us at Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, as well as TuneIn, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and many other places. Now, if for some reason you can't find us, pull out the old Google machine, type in Stream On with Jim Williams, hit the favorite button or the subscribe button, and each week you'll get a brand new edition of the podcast sent directly to your tablet or to your phone or to both, okay? Now, if you have an assistant device like Alexa or Siri or Google, all you have to do is say, hey, Alexa, would you please play the latest edition of Stream On, and they will do it for you, okay? So please go out there and subscribe to the podcast today. We would greatly appreciate it. Special thanks to our guest, and that, of course, would be none other than Jason Coyle, the CEO of Stadium. By all means, get out there, check out their network. It is well worth your time, and you'll find, I'm quite sure, that you're going to be wanting to put that in your mix of things you watch having to do with sports. All right? Okay, next week we're going to get back in the entertainment business. We're going to be talking about some things coming up on BBC America as well as the folks at BritBox. So we're talking a little bit of British television next week right here on Stream On. Until then, everyone have a very safe holiday weekend, whether you're celebrating either Easter or Passover. It's a wonderful time to get together with family. So be careful out there. Enjoy your holiday weekend. We'll check in with you next week talking English TV right here on Stream On.